よう、久しぶり。
マジか。
大マジ。元気ピンピンだよ。
反転術式。
せっかい。
I'm playing Shadow of the Erdtree for the first time on the 1.12 version, and Concort Radahn is my favorite boss ever. First of all, he's a big guy, meaning it's very easy to keep track of him and his movements. Secondly, his attacks are actually very well telegraphed. It's very easy for you to tell which direction he's going to swing at you and which direction is the best for you to dodge into. I mean, he's using these two giant goofy ass swords. These fuckers are not really that hard to miss, you guys. Third, dodging him is actually pretty fun. Even though his attack combos are extremely long at times, because he and his attacks are very well telegraphed, if you just pay enough attention, you'll see his attacks coming from a mile away. I hear people say sometimes that his hitboxes in the first phase are unbalanced or that his swords hit you when they're not supposed to. I don't really agree with this from my own personal experience. If you just learn the timings right, you'll find out that his dodge windows are actually pretty wide and generous at times even. The range of his swords are actually very wide and long, so even when you think he is far enough for you to heal, his swords can still reach you and deal massive damage. So the best way to fight Radahn is to stay as close to him as you can. If you stay close enough, you'll then realize that he's not really that hard to figure out. He's not as aggressive as many other bosses that keep the pressure on you to an overwhelming amount like Loretta or Moog. He's kinda similar to Millennia's first phase when it comes to being chill, I mean. So after you learn his attack combos, you won't just find out that he's very easy and fair to dodge and in general to handle, but dodging him kinda becomes addicting. His combos have a certain beautiful rhythm to them, so when you get the hang of it, it feels like you're kinda dancing with the big guy. When every single one of his attacks can easily bite off a massive chunk of your health and you can easily die in just 2-3 hits, dodging every single one of his attacks consecutively is nothing short of just pure fun. He has only one unfair move, where he does the 3-hit slice attack. Usually if you get hit with the first strike, you can block the second one and roll into him for the third one. Or even if you have a shield, then the entire thing kind of becomes trivial. He might kick you out of your stamina, but he pauses after the third slice so you can easily recover and heal. A lot of people seem to have an issue with this attack, but not particularly me. This attack is genuinely easier to navigate through than Millennia's waterfowl dance, and I'm not kidding. It's really not that big of a deal. So, to summarize the whole thing, Radahn is very easy to see, his attacks are very well telegraphed, dodging him becomes extremely fun when you learn his combos, and he has only one OP attack which you can easily navigate through. So despite what other people might think of him, I personally find his first phase to be absolutely perfect. When I'm fighting him every time, I'm not overthinking or over-focusing. I'm not watching out for that one move where he can just one-shot me like Millennia, or I'm not struggling to understand his attacks because too many of them are delayed like Margit, or I'm not struggling with reading his movements because they look weird and hit a bit too hard like Moog, or he doesn't just simply overwhelm me like Loretta does. Every time I fight him, that's what I'm doing. I'm fighting him. I'm engaging only with him, one-on-one. That's why I always say Radahn's first phase is just pure perfection. His second phase though, it's pure fucking bullshit.
Lord Brother. At long last you are returned. Tarnished one. Aspiring Lord of the Old Order. If you have known sin, if you grieve for this world, then yield the path forward to us. To I, Mikola, and my promised consort, Radahn.
Radahn's transition to the second phase with Mikola showing up and climbing on his back has got to be my favorite transition in the entire game. Visually, this phase looks absolutely beautiful. Genuinely speaking, from the bottom of my heart, the love that I have for this second phase is indescribable. I really don't think that any other boss gave me as much goosebumps than Radahn's second phase does every single time I reach it. As funny as it is, I think Melania's transition to her second phase is somewhat comparable.
Wait.
If I don't make it, tell my story to my wife, okay?
But I never thought watching a boss fight from a distance to be this enjoyable and to this extent such a spectacle. Radahn fights with a sheer power and brute force, but it somehow looks graceful. When you look at him and observe him, his swings and attacks don't feel violent and heavy like his normal version in the base game. They feel light but powerful. It's just a feeling that I don't know that I've ever felt with another boss before. Now, having said that, there are a lot of issues that I have with this phase. Even though that I said visually it's an absolute life-changing experience watching him fight, being in that situation, it's not necessarily the case though. Kinda like Melania herself in the second phase, Radahn becomes very, very aggressive. He can easily overwhelm you. Now that wouldn't be that big of a problem if it wasn't for these laser beams. These laser beams don't do much damage per se, but they do 3 things. When every single swing spawns 4 or 5 of these laser beams, it's very hard to keep track of Radahn's swords and not get distracted by the beams. It's a lot harder to observe him. Secondly, they can stagger you sometimes, so if you are dodging his sword but get hit by 1 laser beam, you can easily lose control of the fight and basically get your ass kicked by him. The laser beams also kind of change where you can dodge into. In the first phase, the dodge windows are extremely wide and open. You can dodge in any direction you want if you get the timing right. Even though his moveset is somewhat the same from the first phase, the laser beams kind of reshape the entire safe zone area. So you have to relearn to dodge into specific areas and directions. If you don't, you get hit, which is completely fine. The problem for me personally is that I can't live long enough to study him properly. When I get hit by the beams, I kind of lose track and get confused and kind of panic roll and die instantly. So I do summon Mimic to distract him and kind of try to study the safe zones, but Mikola keeps reminding Radahn who the main protagonist is, so he still ends up kicking my ass a bit too soon. I even find myself sometimes struggling to get through his first phase fast enough to study his second phase. And then I asked myself, maybe I'm not doing enough damage to him. And I started sorting through my chest, and I was looking at all these weapons that I collected throughout like the base game and the DLC and stuff, and I thought to myself, well, this axe looks kind of cool. Wait a minute, it does rot damage? Okay, that's new. Oh wow, look at this thing I didn't know I have. I wonder how much stagger damage it does. And I kept sorting through these weapons that I never practiced with. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, did I try to beat the DLC's final boss with the base game weapon? like you collected all this shit and you never thought of changing your tactics and strategy? Like maybe, I don't fucking know, try out a different weapon after your 50th death, you fucking dick. Anyway, so this is Kara. Say hi, Kara. Kara's entire shtick is that she uses weapons that look extremely terrifying and badass at the same time. Wolverine claws, check. Dragon incantations, check. So when I found the pizza cutter at Volcano Manor, everything about this weapon was just perfect in my eyes. Design-wise, it looks absolutely horrifying. You would not want to fight someone using this as a weapon. It has shapes of golden snakes and dried up blood all over it. It does both stagger and bleed damage. Not to mention Kara's armor, which is basically Blythe's fur coat. So put all that together and you have a very interesting character design and role-playing experience. Now, I did use the Dragon Katana for a few bosses in the DLC, but that was more of an exception. I just wanted to be done with the bosses. I really wasn't enjoying myself that much. And again, this is my second playthrough of Elden Ring, my first playthrough of the DLC on the 1.12 version, alright? So cut me some slack. I was having so much fun with Radahn's first phase that I was kind of going on autopilot mode and just didn't think of what I was doing. If I really want to beat Radahn, I need to think outside the box. I'm gonna commit to cracking the perfect code, coming up with the best strategy of going one-on-one with him on his second phase, so I basically don't have to summon because I love him that much. Talking about love, let's talk about the bad bitch herself. Loretta is a very simple and straightforward boss, which is why I love her so much. Her movements and attacks, she's easy to reach, she's easy to dodge, she's fun to smash and get smashed by, and her design, I mean, come on dude, look at her. She looks absolutely beautiful. Mechanically, Loretta is very simple, but the one thing that makes her my absolute favorite boss is her agility and speed. I don't think I've ever fought a boss that was to this extent agile and fun. Either the fight turns into a chase where you're constantly running after the boss, you hit them, they get away, you have to run after them again, and the whole thing is kind of annoying and shit. Or you have a boss that's fast and agile, but that just means that they're gonna beat your ass a lot quicker and faster. Like Rallana, that bitch attacks very quickly, and her combos are extremely long. She's fast, but in the sense that she's overwhelming you 80% of times. You don't have much space to breathe. And then you have a boss like Morgott, who's somewhat agile, he does jump around a lot, he does give you a lot of room to breathe, but he himself doesn't force you to move that much. Like, other than 2 AoE attacks, you're not gonna be running around him that much. He'll just slowly come up to you.
The thrones, stained by my curse, such they cannot bear. Thy part in this shall not be forgiven.
But then you have Loretta, who is very agile. She's constantly moving around and jumping around in the arena. She jumps both away from you and back at you, meaning she gives you enough room to breathe, but she's also the one closing the distance plenty of times. She herself is not the only one moving around, but she also forces you to move around with her. That's why half of her entire attacks are projectiles. Because she moves around a lot, you have to pace your attacks in a way where you have enough time to get out of her attacks, but also be able to land a few hits. Because again, she's very well telegraphed, dodging her attacks and projectiles are both extremely fun. The one that she jumps up in the air with her horse and then summons her big ass magical bow and shoots at you, that move is not just fun to dodge, but it looks absolutely sick as hell. And her design, again, is absolutely gorgeous. She looks so badass and beautiful when you fight her. Loretta for a lot of people is like a mid-A tier boss at most, but for me personally, because of the reasons that I've mentioned, she's easily in my top 3. When you engage with her mechanics correctly, she becomes extremely fun. Her speed and style are her absolute strong suits, and that's why I love her so much. Now let me make this absolutely clear, I'm the type of person who prioritizes fun above all else, and summoning in this game is incredibly fun. The chaos of having 1 or 2 extra NPCs in the arena with you, where y'all just attack the boss from every single direction, throwing everything you have absolutely zero control over the situation, anything can happen at any time, you have no idea what the next move from the boss is about to be, you have no idea how the NPCs are gonna react. The absolute chaos and lack of control when summoning has been one of my favorite moments in this entire game.
A curse upon thee.
So believe me when I say that I love Concort Radahn and Loretta to such a great extent that I just straight up forbid myself from ever summoning for them. They are such perfect bosses that make me want to look past all of the imperfections. Once in a while you meet that one boss where just out of sheer love and respect you have for them, you prefer to go through the harder route. Even though you're going to struggle way more and you're going to spend a lot of your time, you still welcome it. But for me, it's not because of how satisfying the victory is having accomplished it by myself, by 1v1ing the boss, but by respecting the love that I have for the boss itself, by respecting their dignity. And that's why Concort Radahn and Loretta are my absolute favorite bosses in this entire game.